Hey, Travel Brats. Happy Travel Brat Tuesday. It's Soph and Nat and a special guest coming to you from the studio. And today we're going to talk all about the history of Boston.
Yeah, so Boston is one of America's oldest cities, as I'm sure most of you guys know. It was founded in 1630 by English Puritans seeking religious freedom. And over the centuries, it's become a symbol of revolution and resilience, home to pivotal events like the Boston Tea Party and the Battle of Bunker Hill. From cobblestone streets to cutting edge innovation, Boston blends rich history with a vibrant modern spirit, and it makes it a city that honors its past while also shaping the future. So, we have a guest. His name is Mark McDevitt. Thank you for joining us, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
Mark, we're so excited to have you. And I love Boston, but I love Mark more. And to give you guys a little bit of a background on Mark before I let him kind of, say what I missed. He's a lifelong wanderer at heart. He loves to travel just like we do. He's a combat veteran. So Mark thrives on exploring the world one adventure at a time, serious and a little more fun. He also loves to travel and manipulate credit card points to basically fund his adventures, which I would love to do a separate series, Mark, with you on that
Yeah,
alone because it's
you could
amazing.
talk for hours on that. And it's manufacturing, not manipulating, by the way.
I'm sorry. Correction, manufacturing. And by day, he works in the fast-paced world of corporate event production. He orchestrates impact high experiences for events, all sizes. And he also works on a ton of aspects of the publishing industry, from audiobook production to editing and producing videos and coming as a guest on fun podcasts like the Travel Brats. So, Mark, thank you so much for coming. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I was born in Boston, got a lot of family that lives up there. Unfortunately, my wife and I figured out a couple years ago that we only make it up there for weddings and funerals. And we actually set some time aside back in 23 to go up there for just almost 2 weeks, where we spent 3 days down south near the Cape, couple days up north of Boston, and then finished up in Boston downtown. So it was a great experience.
Well, welcome, Mark.
Thank
And
you.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
So, if someone's visiting Boston for the very first time, which I actually did this past fall,
Mhm.
and I will say I used your cheat sheet that you had given. Yeah. So your answer will hopefully be what I actually did. But the question is, what's the best way for someone to start their trip to Boston?
First off, you got to talk about the rental car process, but we can get to that in a second. But to answer your question short, Freedom Trail. That's the most historical trail you can take. It's a walking trail. There's a bunch of tours you can take along, guided or self-guided, but that's definitely the first thing I'd recommend for people. But again, rental car. Take this advice for anywhere in the world, but if you can get a rental car that allows you to just go straight to the garage and pick it up and drive away, do that, especially in Boston. The lines at Logan for the rental car can be ridiculous. And so if you get that benefit of just paying ahead of time and drive to the or get to go to the garage and just drive out, you're going to save at least an hour or two of your time.
Yeah, that's
Other-
great. I know that's what we did, and it made it life so much easier because we were like in Boston, out of Boston, in Boston, then we went north of Boston, and so just to have that rental car, and if you're not in the city, the parking is fairly cheap just outside. I mean, I think
Mhm.
our car too. We were going in October, and our car for like multiple days was only like 368, and we split it two people. So, and we got like a Nissan Rogue. It was great. So yeah, great
Some-
idea.
Something else for rental cars, this works in Boston, anywhere else in the world as well, is that most people don't know, but if you're going somewhere like Boston, rent your car 6 months in advance. Okay, they've got the pay now or they've got the pay later. Pay now is obviously going to be cheaper. Do the pay later. It's say $400 for a week or whatever. A week later, check again. That price could have gone down. If it goes down to 375, book it at 375, cancel your 400. Keep doing that all the way up until your reservation. I've saved hundreds of dollars doing that before. So always check that out, whether it's going to Boston, Florida, California, Chicago, wherever. Just always book it and keep checking, and they don't penalize you for canceling.
Yeah.
That's my kind of tip. I love like those kind of hacks
Mhm.
So I think that's really great. I've never even thought of doing that, but I've rented a car just a few times in my life when traveling,
Yep.
so I'm definitely gonna use that.
And then once your trip's getting closer, if you're a day or two out, then select the pay now feature because you know you're going, and then you'll
Yeah.
save an extra couple bucks from there.
It's a great idea. I This is really funny. We had originally we switched cars because we had originally rented a Jeep, and Jeep's a little big for a road trip, but it does fit everything. But it was electric, and I never driven like it was a hybrid. And so, like, one morning we couldn't get it to start, and we were trying to debate whether to return the car. And we were calling all these rental car places. And like you said, Mark, they were totally out of like SUVs because it
Yep.
was October in Boston. Talk about when to go and when to not go. It's like the fall is so beautiful there, but also it's like, oh, really crowded, especially. So I think it depends on, what you're trying to do. But I
Mhm.
wanted to start with, you take your car, you fly into Logan Airport, right? You get your car, you head to downtown Boston, and I know there's so many hotels to stay in. So we'll touch on just a few. But I know you and I, Mark, have both stayed in the Copley Square Hotel,
Yep.
which is just gorgeous. I mean,
Amazing.
yeah, I stayed in like when we stayed outside Boston for a few nights because my friend had a deal with Hampton. We stayed in the Hampton Suites in Waterton, which is actually a really easy like trip in and out of the city. But if you guys really want like the in-city experience, you're willing to like splurge a little bit. There are affordable hotels, especially on Expedia, that you can book. And Copley Square, it's just a great tourist site. Our hotel was like right now it's between like 300 and 600 a night. And I got this like corner view studio king room. It had a great view. You could see the sunset on Trinity Church, and that little like oval window area. It was like totally spectacular.
Yep. We might have had the same room actually. We had like different views of those L-shaped room and views of like two or three different sides of the city. It was great.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And just to give you guys a little bit of a lowdown on Copley Square. I mentioned first that we had been able to see Trinity Church and the sunset on there. That was designed in 1877 by H. Richardson, and it's considered an inaugural building. It's in the Richardson Romanesque architectural style. It's just spectacular. I mean, I've never seen a church quite like that. Even in Europe, it's just got beautiful colors. And it's called polychromy, the beautiful colors. And it's got a clay roof, it's rough stone, white arches, a really cool tower. We'll obviously be posting pictures and posting videos with some of these awesome sites to see. Another couple items that are really, really neat in Copley Square that you guys should check out, especially if you're staying in this hotel that Mark and I love, the Fairmont Copley Plaza. It was established in 1912. It's one of the most historic hotels of America. So, go grab a drink in there, go explore the lobby. It's beautiful. The Boston Public Library, oh man, Natalie, you guys love this too. I mean, it was established in 1895, designed by Charles Follen McKim to resemble a classic Roman palace. So, if you can already start imagining what that looks like,
Mhm.
Renaissance revival style, tons of white marble. It's in a public building, so it was cool to go in there and just see everybody working, reading, studying. It's a centerpiece of Copley Square. When when I went there, there was a crazy guy that was like creeping around with his hand in his pocket, and they had to call security. So that was a fun, most memorable travel story. But I imagine usually there's not that. But I was like, should I report this? And the one girl that was like sitting there studying was like, please. And I was like, yeah, I'm a tourist, so I'll just walk down there and find the security. No worries.
Nice.
Yeah, but anyway, so I could talk about Copley Square all day, but it was great.
Yeah, that Boston Public Library, that brings me some memories for sure. My wife and I, we stayed at the Copley like we talked about, and we had a day where we literally walked from Copley to uh like the Faneuil Hall area, which
Uh-huh.
is a pretty good little walk, but we stopped and did a bunch of things all the way. But then we went to the place, another restaurant that we'll talk about here later, called the Union Public Oyster House. And while we were there, it had a map of the Freedom Trail, and I was like, "Oh, we're not that far from Bunker Hill." Like my wife loves to walk, I don't, and I decided to make it like a, "Hey, do you want to go walk to Bunker Hill?" That was dumb. It
Far,
was a
right?
long walk. Yeah, and so we walked essentially from Copley all the way to Bunker Hill, and then my wife, to end the day, wanted to go back to the public library. I'm like, "We're not walking back." So we
No.
took an Uber, sweaty as all get out, and yeah, so then we walked around the public library for a little bit and checked that box off.
Oh, yeah, it's spectacular. Oh, and I'm also forgetting Old South Church, 1873, National Historic Landmark, designed by Charles Amos Cummings and Willard T. Sears in the Northern Italian Gothic style, which is also gorgeous. And oh, a cool note on this place, this church, the bell tower. It's got multicolored stone and really cool carvings, which is all part of an unusually ornate design for a New England congregational church style. So that was really cool to see something a little more, fancy. And then you've got John Hancock Tower, 1976, one of the city's most recognizable landmarks. It's 60-story glass skyscraper, or it's a 60-story glass skyscraper, and it's New England's tallest building because not a lot of the buildings are that tall. It's 790 feet, so that's a cool thing to check out. And it was designed by Henry N. Cobb of IMP and Partners. So again, super cool. I know, Mark, we're going to talk a lot about food. When I was in Copley Square, staying right there was a little Spanish restaurant across the street, and I just picked up dinner. I was alone, but it was called Lolita, and I know we're going to talk a lot about the lobster, but basically, I got guacamole fresco there, and it had lobster just like all up in the guac, and I've never had that before, and it was so good. So that's a fun place if you're just like kind of lazy, you don't want to go far for dinner, and you're staying in that hotel.
But yeah,
So,
as far as food goes, I mean, hello, lobster. But tell us some of your top either spots or just like what what to eat when in Boston.
so there's several places that I would recommend. Obviously, the Union Oyster House that we'll talk about. Um, Anywhere you go, I told you guys about this for your trips last year. But there's a fake fish that they serve. It's called scrod. It's kind of amazing. It's basically the white fish of the day, so it's either cod or haddock, but they just call it scrod. And so you can always order scrod when you're there. I'm from the South, so I can get steak anywhere. So when I go to Boston, I don't order steak. I'm either ordering lobsters, crabs, scrod, and chowder for every meal. That's
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And then also for family places, there's a place that's called the 99, which whenever I go up there to visit my family, that's typically where we'll end up gathering as a group with all my cousins and whatnot. It's a family place that's got like a bar inside there where they give you all you can eat popcorn for your tables. But it's almost like I was trying to think about an analogy of this. It's almost like if Outback, Chili's, and Applebee's all kind of got together and made a sit down place that's a cool place to go. It's relatively inexpensive. And they sometimes, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do deals like if the Red Sox win, kids eat free. So last couple of years, the kids were starving in Boston because the Red Sox weren't doing so well. But yeah, the 99 is always a great place to check out. And they're all over the area.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, again, Boston, like Mark said, travel brats, eat your seafood, and there's plenty of family places. The last thing I would mention is even with Lolita, if you are like a Mexican food person, they have a bunch of seafood there, and it's such a cool vibe. It's like a party place. Like you go like underground, and there's people like I walked in there to pick up my food, and I was like, oh, I wish I was coming to hang out here. Like it's like a party. So anyway, whether you're wanting to party, whether you're wanting to have a casual dinner with your family, and it's late, or you're in a hurry, anything, there's a bunch of options. And Mark and Natalie and I have actually kind of built this Boston to-do list into a travel itinerary because I know when you go, there's so many things to do. Boston's an overwhelming city. You want to see all the main things, but you're like, how long does this take and what are the locations? So we have taken the liberty of kind of mapping everything out for you, and based on how long it's taken us to do it in our own time, kind of pick days where here's realistically what you can do in a day if you start early. So that is honestly what we've already talked about in Copley Square, and like flying, getting your car, getting your hotel, going out to dinner, seeing a couple of the sites. That's pretty packed for one day. So technically, this would be like a day to start the Freedom Trail, like Mark said. And Mark, I know you mentioned in your cheat sheet self-guided and there's guided tours. What would you recommend?
I think it just comes down to the person themselves. To be honest, my wife is a history teacher, so she doesn't really care to have other people tell her more about history that she probably already knows.
Mhm.
So we typically choose to not do the guided tours with the actors. Just one, because for us personally, it kind of slows us down. And, sometimes they spend more time talking about one aspect and we want to kind of go on to the other one. So we're more self-guided people, but I can understand what there's other people that maybe don't have a history teacher for a wife that would want to learn more and they've got the time to do it. But yeah, self-guided is quicker. Guided tour, you're probably going to get more in depth. But yeah, they're both good ways to go.
I totally get that because I'm so slow on my own anyway. So I, speaking of slowness, I went myself and did it as slow as I wanted to, took pictures of everything, did all the extra stuff. But
Yeah.
Mark, where do we start on this freedom tour?
So I would start with the Boston Commons. Grab some coffee. Anywhere around there, you're going to find a good coffee place. The Boston Commons was established in 1634. It's America's oldest public park. Puritan colonists purchased the land rights to the commons, 44 acres, for the first European settlers of the area. Anglo Anglican minister William Blackstone. And it's a huge park that has tons of memorials and the Boston Massacre Monument. They also have a brand new MLK monument, which was just amazing to see, called Embrace on the south end of the Commons near Sal's Pizza on Tremont Street.
Very cool. And I will give you a quick coffee recommendation that's right outside the start. Thinking Cup Coffee Bar. Really good, really good lunch, breakfast, bathrooms, clean, nice, great.
But
And next stop is Massachusetts State House, right? Which is right here behind me, which is really cool. Okay.
Oh, fancy.
I
Now,
know.
place designed by Charles Bulfinch, which that's a fun name. Uh, and the new and current state house has served as the seat of Massachusetts government since its opening in 1798. It holds the legislative and the executive branches, and it sits adjacent to the former site of the historic Hancock Mansion. So, Park Street Church was founded in 1809 at the corner of Park and Tremont Streets, atop the site of Boston's Town Grain Storage Building, or granary. That's an interesting word, granary. I love that. But it was designed by a guy named Peter Banner, and its 217 feet steeple of Park Street Church was once the first landmark travelers saw when approaching Boston. That's a cool fact.
It is.
That.
good
And you
stuff.
can go inside and have a tour, which Sophia loves.
One of the other great stops is the Granary Burying Ground. This is one of my favorite stops in all of the Boston Commons area. It's established in 1660, and some of America's most notable citizens rest here, like John Hancock, Sam Adams, and others. Named for the 12,000 bushel grain storage building that was once next door, the historic burying ground has approximately 2,300 gravestones. It's a great place. And this place also has people that are dressed up as actors, and they'll guide you around and show you where all the different tombstones are, and talk about each one of them if you want to, or a lot of the main famous ones. Or you just grab a map and you walk in, and they've got a little small map that tells you here's where so and so's buried, here's where so and so's buried. But that's always a great place to go check out as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, how fun. Now, I loved King's Chapel, which is the next stop. It's like number five-ish stop on your tour. It's King's Chapel and King's Chapel Burying Ground.
Lots of burying grounds to be seen in Boston. And this one was founded in 1686. It was the first Anglican church that founded this, King's Chapel, and home to over 330 years of history. The 1754 granite building still stands on the church's original site, which is the corner of Boston's Old English burying ground.
Nice. And then our next stop, number six, would be Boston Latin School with the Benjamin Franklin statue.
So the Boston Latin School was founded in 1635, and it's the oldest public school in America, which I think is really interesting, really cool. And it offered free education to many boys, rich or poor. White girls attended private schools at home back in the day. And until the completion of the schoolhouse in 1645, classes were held in the home of the first headmaster. So, a mosaic and a statue of former student Benjamin Franklin currently marks the location of the original schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Well, our next stop is number seven, the Old Corner Bookstore, which I just
Yep.
died when I saw this because I couldn't find it, and Mark's going to tell you why.
It was constructed in 1718. The Old Corner Bookstore is downtown Boston's oldest commercial building, and was home to the 19th century publishing giant Ticknor and Fields, producer of many venerable American titles, including Thoreau's Walden, Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, Longfellow's Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, and the Atlantic Monthly Ward Howe's Battle Hymn of the Republic. Saved from demolition in 1960, the building's leases helped subsidize important historic preservation projects in Boston's neighborhoods.
and I couldn't find it because it's a Chipotle now. So I
There
walked
you
past
go.
this place like 10 times, like I just don't know where it is. And finally I looked it up on the internet and I was like, oh, it's a Chipotle.
That's awesome. Did you at least stop in for a meal?
Absolutely not. Who's going to eat Chipotle when they're in Boston?
If they
They
had
have like
lobster
five
in there.
lobster. If they did, I don't know if they did. I should have actually been like,
Yeah,
can I get a bowl with lobster? But I no, I had like five lobster rolls at the Quincy Market. We'll get there.
there you go.
Yeah.
And
But
then after that, you can
yeah.
do like speaking of Chipotle and lunches and whatnot. Um, again, I'm not again, but I'm not sponsored by any of these places that I bring up. I wish I was, but I'm not. But my wife and I had a great experience at the Union Oyster House for lunch. It was a great midway point between Copley and Bunker Hill for us to stop and relax. It's the oldest restaurant in America, and it was kind of amazing.
Do you have a favorite dish from there?
I would have to say chowder. I just love chowder when I'm in Boston.
Yeah.
So anything with fish, chowder, lobster, I'm down with that.
And they
Um,
have a JFK Memorial booth?
yeah, up on the second floor, you can go up there and look. There's a booth that JFK used to always use whenever he was there. And they kind
Hmm.
of got a little memorial to him there with a little sign and whatnot. But it's really cool to be able to go up there and take a picture of that and see that.
That's really cool.
And then from there, you can go check out the Holocaust Memorial. It's relatively new within the last couple of years. I don't use this word lightly, but it was a very poignant memorial to see.
Mm,
It's basically these very large glass towers that all have serial numbers on them. And the serial numbers are to commemorate a lost soul in the Holocaust. And
mm.
there's smoke rising up from the ground just very subtly as you're walking through it. And it was very interesting to see. And it was a moment for sure.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's like all those monuments are, I remember DC, all those monuments are so beautiful, but they're like very somber, because like you have all the in DC you have all the soldiers' names and it's just like
Hmm.
it goes on and on and on and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like
And here it was just numbers because they didn't give them names. They just
mm,
assigned a number to them.
hmm
Mm.
So yeah.
mm. On a lighter note, Mark.
Yeah. I was going to say
um,
transitioning
moment
to
of
from that.
silence.
Um, spend the evening at Fenway Park. My wife and I, back in 2012, I believe it was, had the opportunity to go. For me personally, it was the last time I was ever at Fenway Park with my father. So I've told people it was a Red Sox Yankees game. If I never get a chance to go back to Fenway Park ever again, I'm okay with that. Um, the way we did that though was my wife found out beforehand that we could do a batting practice tour, which they open up the stadium to you while the players are doing batting practice. Well, the rest of the fans aren't there yet. And so we got to go up on top of the Green Monster, which is right behind me in this picture here that you can see right here. So we were just right up over there. And the players were hitting balls up to the top of the monster and having a great time. But then after that, they dump you out into the left field and take you out of the building, out of the park. And there's a restaurant right there called Cask and Flagon. Now, summer game is July 4th weekend, Red Sox Yankees, big deal. And we get there with a party of fours, me, my wife, and my parents. And we walk in, and there's this big table of six right there as you walk in the door. And I asked the hostess, I saw people just standing there just around the table. I was like, hey, can we sit here? And she's like, no, you have to have six. And I looked at her, I said, we have six. I lied. We had four. So I turned to the group behind me that had two people. I said, hey, what are your names? We're about to eat dinner together. And I said, here's our six. And the lady sat us immediately. So we got to jump a 45-minute to an hour wait. And we got to sit at that table as a family and had two other people with us that we didn't know. And everybody got in. So it was awesome. Great
Aren't
experience.
you clever?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Clever
As they
boy.
say in Boston, you're wicked smart.
That's right. Oh, and I love your shirt, by the way, since we
Thank you.
just
Yeah.
talked about.
I mean,
Yeah,
look,
the new,
I am a
yeah.
Patriots fan. So
That's cool, Mark.
you're like,
That's
yeah,
definitely a
yeah,
great spot.
okay. Like,
We're like, yeah, yeah, we're super into baseball. No, I would love to go do this because it's just like they're such a nationally amazing team. So
yeah,
it's part of Boston to go to
yeah.
Fenway Park.
I've been three times, and all three times were great. The first time was when I was a kid, and I was with three generations of my family, me, my
Mm.
dad, and my grandpa, all from
Mhm.
Boston. So that was a great moment. And then we went probably back in 2003, I think it was, maybe four, right before they won the World Series. And it was my wife and I. It was pouring down rain. I think we broke our video camera because of the rain. So that was an experience. And then we had that moment with my dad. So yeah, those are the three times I've been. And if I never get a chance to go back again, I think I'm okay with that.
Oh, those are all
But
special. Hmm.
yep.
Well, Nat, where are we headed to on our special day 3?
Day three. So if you didn't already finish the Freedom Trail, it's time to finish the Freedom Trail. So where would we start, Soph?
So, if you guys again have stopped at, I mean, I guess the last place would have been the Holocaust Memorial. And I do think that if you want to do it all in one day, you can. But honestly, if you're going to get more out of it, and you're going to go inside and see some of these things and go through the museums. And a lot of them, some people look at the itinerary and they say, well, I could spend a couple more hours after like 5 o'clock and get another more sightseeing. Yeah, memorials. But if you go into a lot of these churches and things, a lot of them close between like 5 and 6. So, and then, you're going to have food in between, like we're suggesting. So typically, or how I did it is I'd only seen what we saw on day 2. And so you grab breakfast, I would say at Quincy Market since you're close, because the market has lunch, dinner, it has breakfast, bagels, it has all this cool stuff. So I would grab breakfast there and then just walk to Old South Meeting House, which isn't very far. And that's kind of picking back up where you left off. And Nat, what's our history on that?
Okay, so the history on this particular place, you can experience all the history where the Boston Tea Party began. This hall rang with words from Puritan sermons, public meetings, and the tea tax debates. So you can visit Old South Meeting House and add your voice to history. Ooh, I like that. Add your voice to history.
Yeah, it was really cool. I love the fact that you could get tickets to this church and the following stop, which is Old State House. So they kind of combine them two in one. And then the listening tour in specifically in the Old South Meeting House is really great. So I would do the listening tour. It's not super long, gives you all the info and all the people, yada yada yada. Then our next stop would be Old State House.
Yep. Through massacre, revolution, and fire, the old State House stands as the oldest surviving public building in Boston. Built in 1713, the building served as the center of civic, political, and business life.
And the cool thing about this place, it's got a bottom floor, a middle top. You can go through all these different exhibits, but I loved the main meeting room where they would sit and make political decisions. They had a tour guide that basically he would wait in there, fill up the room, do the little lesson with everybody, and then fill it out, fill it back up again, and do that. So it was cool to sit there like you were one of the legislators and listen to him talk and see like the papers that they used to read the laws and everything. So that was really cool.
Yeah. And then the next stop is the Boston Massacre Site. So on March 5th, 1770, after months of tensions due to occupation and taxation, Bostonians and Redcoats clashed in the streets of Boston. So what ended with 5 civilians killed by gunfire, Crispus Attucks, Samuel Gray, James Caldwell, Samuel Maverick, and Patrick Carr, led to the rallying of Bostonians against the crown and the evacuation of troops in Boston. They would not return until 1774.
Yep. And after that, it's pretty close. It's a 1 minute walk. Pop over to Quincy Market for your lobster roll.
Yeah, lobster roll.
Yeah.
So good.
It's the
And then
market.
the market. And then right after that, you can pop into Faneuil Hall. It was often referred to as the home of free speech and the cradle of liberty. So Faneuil Hall hosted America's first town meeting. The hall's vital role in the Revolution politics had not been part of its original plans, but it became home to an intricate collection of events that shaped the nation's history. So now it's a giant gift shop, but clean bathrooms on the bottom floor, fun gift shop if you guys want to send some postcards. Get a cute hat. Get a cute bucket hat with Paul Revere on it. Ha ha ha. Wink wink. Which is what Natalie's boyfriend Matt did when they were there, which is really cute and funny. But again, a fun place to just stop, pit stop, check out some of that stuff.
Speaking of Paul Revere, the next stop is the Paul Revere House. The British are coming, the British are
British are
coming.
coming.
So this was built around 1680 and it was owned by the legendary patriot Paul Revere from 1770 to 1800. And it's the oldest remaining structure in downtown Boston and also the only official Freedom Trail historic site that is a home.
Ooh, I did not know that. I didn't even think about that. Well, I know it, but I didn't like register it. But that's really cool. Also, since you guys, I'll save you guys the trouble. Don't take pictures. I got yelled at for taking a video inside because I am that tourist. But no pics inside. You can take a cool picture outside though, because the outside of the house is cool and it's kind of built into that street. And then they have like a little museum at the bottom once you can take a tour of the house. But definitely take a tour, just no pictures.
And then right nearby, you've got the Old North Church, where you can visit the site that launched the American Revolution. Built in 1723, Boston's oldest church is best known for the midnight ride of Paul Revere and the phrase, one if by land, two if by sea. You can take a tour, especially of the crypt, the gallery, and the bell chamber.
And then a pastry mark.
Yes, there's a place called Mike's Pastry right up the street. When you get there, there's gonna be a line. It's most likely gonna be outside. You will have to wait, but getting a cannoli at Mike's Pastry is almost a must, and I would highly recommend it. When you walk inside, you'll see a whole bunch of pictures of all the famous people that have done so. They probably didn't have to wait in the line like you will, but definitely worth it.
Yum.
Once you get your cannoli, then you're going to go to yet another burying ground. It's called Copp's Hill Burying Ground, and this one is named after a shoemaker, William Copp, and it is the final resting place and burying ground of merchants, artisans, and craftspeople who lived in the North End. So not necessarily famous people like the one that Mark was talking about where John Hancock was buried, but still an interesting place to see if you like burying grounds, cemeteries, this kind of thing. And of course, it's just a historical site, so it's important to make a stop there.
Another place you can grab dinner at is the Bell in Hand Tavern. Established in 1795, the Bell in Hand Tavern has the distinction of being the oldest continuously operating tavern in America and is walkable for most of your hotels in the downtown area.
And it's right by Cops Hill, you guys. So again, we've built in all these fun places to eat, to take a break while you're on the Freedom Trail doing your day itineraries.
Because
And I
you
guess
got to
that's
stop. You got to stop and have snacks and drinks, right?
Yeah.
refuel, you know? And I guess that's the end of our day three.
Yeah, so now we're on to day 4, and this is when you're going to do the last bits of the Freedom Tour and then, of course, hit the other Boston must visits. Now, this one was actually where I went first. We started, I guess technically it would be the end of the Freedom Tour. Is that right? The Bunker Hill Monument is
I
technically
would say
the
so,
end.
yeah.
Yeah. So we actually started at the end because I really wanted to see the Bunker Hill Monument. And so we started there, and this was a monument dedicated to the Battle of Bunker Hill, which happened on June 17th, 1775. It was the first major battle of the Revolutionary War. Super, super important to, of course, this intense historical thing that happened in our country. And it predicted the entire character and outcome of the rest of the war.
Wow. And that's a really good idea, Nat. In case there's some things you want to see, like you said, more on the end, you can always work backwards or work towards your hotel if you are in like Copley Square. I would also say that these two are kind of farther away from the Freedom Trail. They're the last bits. You also can see the next stop, which is the USS Constitution and Museum. So you've got the ship. And then you've got the museum, which has all the cool maritime information about Boston and the harbor and the ships and the military and everything. It's really neat. Launched in Boston in 1797, the USS Constitution is the oldest commissioned warship afloat and earned her nickname Old Ironsides during the War of 1812.
After that, you could always take an Uber down south of Boston. It's not too far. Hit up the JFK Presidential Museum. This is a great museum. It has a lot of artifacts and, documents and photos and whatnot. And it's a great little stop where you can stay inside and you're not walking outside and get a chance to do that. Another great thing that my wife and I did many, many years ago was at the time, we took a train out to the Sam Adams Brewery. If you're a beer drinker, this is a must. It's a great tour. Back then it was free, but I believe now it's maybe $10 or so to get in. It's in Jamaica Plains, and the tour was a vibe. Um, you basically start off in the brewery, and then from there they put you on a trolley, and they trolley you over about a mile to this restaurant where they then serve you burgers and more Sam Adams beer. But the trolley ride was amazing because the guy was like just bouncing. Like you've seen those movies with the cars and like they start bouncing. The trolley was bouncing like that. And so the whole thing was just a vibe, but it was a great experience and something I would definitely do again if given the opportunity.
Oh, how fun.
I love brewery tours. I went on one in Belgium, and
Nice.
I think that's the only time I've been on a proper brewery or distillery tour, at least in the last couple years that I can remember. But the next time I go to Boston, I definitely want to do that because those are so fun. And it sounds, I mean, the vibe just sounds
Yeah.
great to
It
add.
was a party. And there's sometimes back then, obviously, there was opportunities to drink beer that wasn't actually offered to the public or you couldn't find it in stores. So it was kind of cool to do that as well. And you can
Yeah.
buy some to take home with you.
Oh yeah, and that's the best part is you get to experience and figure out what you like and then take it home with you. So now we are on to our last day, day 5. And this is going to be a little bit more of an exploration of the history and art indoors. So, Mark, tell us about the Boston Museum of Fine Arts.
That was a place that was a must for my wife to go, being a history teacher. So there are a few parking lots nearby if you need. There's also a very nice cafe inside. It's one of those places that, depending on how much you love art and museum pieces, you could spend an hour or an entire day. So it's basically pick your poison. If there's any rain scheduled for the day you're there, this is a good way to spend the day out of the weather. It's kind of funny you brought that up because it was raining when we went there. So we did basically find refuge in the museum and walked around probably longer than I wanted to, but my wife was very happy doing that.
Oh, I just absolutely love that museum. I had so many. I spent a day there. So again, if you want to just spend a day there because you're like art obsessed, and I will keep this short, but I had some super favorite exhibits. They had when I was there, which they still do have, a Beyond Brilliance jewelry exhibit. It had more than 150 objects on display from like Egyptian broad collar necklaces to 19th century works by Castellani and Carlo Giuliano. Okay, I will pronounce all this wrong, guys, so just stick with me. But 20th century designs by Marcus and the famous Tiffany and Company, like Bulgari. It just so many amazing things. Pieces from French fashion by Chanel, Dior. They even had Elsa Peretti. So again, these artifacts, fine jewelry and designs were from anywhere from ancient civilizations to contemporary modern artists and fashion houses. And they had it was over a span of 4,000 years, these objects are from. So it's just really cool. And also in that exhibit, I love to take pictures of the quotes they use on the walls. And they said, luxury is a necessity that comes where a necessity ends, or something like that. And that was from Coco Chanel. So that was really cool. Then they had a huge Dutch and Flemish art exhibit. Again, that's like 17th century paintings by, you got Rembrandt, um, Peter Paul Rubens, and just so many other artists from that Dutch Flemish art era. And then I thought it was so cool. They had the miniature dollhouses, huge miniature dollhouses. That doesn't make sense saying it, but big dollhouses with all these intricate rooms and designs. And so, and again, stunning portraits. I love the portraits from that era of art. And ancient Greek and Roman Byzantine Empire art, which I loved the early Greek art, the gods and goddesses, the Roman portraits, and then the Byzantine art. And then they had the Deep Waters exhibit for artists in the sea. And so they had four of the main artists and the famous painting Terrors of the Ocean. So I'd always wanted to see that in person. Then they had Van Gogh, which was a temporary exhibit, but all bunch of his portraits, and they were just stunning. And then masterpieces of Egyptian sculpture from the Pyramid Age. I think they probably keep those, if not full year round, because they have so much of it. It's a really vast exhibit. So again, you could spend all day in there. There's a ton of other exhibits that I didn't hit. Those were my personal favorites. You can get lunch there. You can just have a ball, really.
Very nice. And for the evening, you can hit up a Sunset Harbor cruise with the buffet. Um, these board typically around 6 p.m. They'll sail from 7 to 9 p.m. Unfortunately for my wife and I, it was pouring down rain for the cruise, but
Mm.
the top deck is partially covered, so you can still be out in the open air, feel the breeze, have a good time. It takes you right by Logan Airport, so you're actually watching planes coming in while you're on the cruise, which is kind of cool. We did the cruise with the buffet. It was just a bit less than a plated dinner cruise, but they have options for those as well. Drinks are an additional cost, and they have a DJ on board where you can dance and have a good time. And they got games upstairs you can play and just hang out and have a great evening.
I
Check
love
those out on cityexperiences.com/Boston.
that. Sounds like a fun way to really see the whole city.
Yep. Great
That's
skyline views the entire way.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of boats, can you tell us about the Boston Duck boat ride?
It's amazing. It's a unique sightseeing tour in Boston that takes place on a duck, basically. It's an amphibious vehicle originally used during World War II. These vehicles can drive on land and they float on water, making the tour both a land and river experience. And what is also awesome is whenever the teams in Boston win championships, they put the players on duck boats and tour them all throughout the city on the land and in the water. So it allows more people to see the tour or see the
That's
parade.
so funny. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's awesome. So the land tour will take you begins the streets of Boston, where they'll basically share historical facts with you, quirky stories, and interesting landmarks. They'll take you by the Boston Common, Massachusetts State House, Quincy Market, Boston Public Garden, Old North Church, and Newbury Street. And then the water tour, part way through the ride, the duck boat splashes into the Charles River, and they give you views of the Boston and Cambridge skylines, MIT and Harvard campuses from the water, and rowers and sailboats along the river that you'll be passing. So kids are invited to steer the boat every now and then, and it's a humorous way for the narration for the boat driver to kind of blend history with some jokes. Lasts about 80 minutes, 60 on land, 20 in the water.
I think
Fun,
that's great.
educational, efficient way to see Boston, and great for people of all ages.
I think that's so fun. And I just think it would be a really cool way to see some of those sites that are a little more out of the way too, like Harvard and MIT and just have a different way of travel. Kind of historical and really, really neat.
And it looks like it's about like the cost is like $45 for
Mhm.
adults, which is actually for all that you get with that and the experience of getting to, I mean, I've never heard of this. This is so cool to me.
Yep,
And I think like the money that you would spend on that, what you're getting to see, I mean,
yep,
it seems like a really, especially if you only had one day to be in Boston, this could be a really cool way to do it. You could do something like that and then maybe end the day with the cruise. I mean,
yep,
obviously that would mean you're not doing a lot of walking, which what I loved about Boston was that I
yeah,
felt it was one of the most walkable cities I've ever been in. But this seems like a way to pack a lot in because obviously walking, you're not going to be able to get as far in a short amount of time. So that's a really, really neat and very unique
yep.
experience.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that. So, when it comes to places to eat and drink, of course, Mark, you've given us a lot of spots, a lot of different tidbits, and you as well, Soph. But here are some other places just to name some other hot spots: Cheers Pub, Parish Cafe and Bar, Ramsey's Kitchen, Mr. Barkley's Burgers, Boston Burger Company, Wahlburgers, Back Bay, and Green Dragon Tavern. A lot of burger spots.
Yep.
Um, so obviously
And
burgers are great in Boston, I'm guessing too, aside from lobster and chowder and all the different kinds of seafood you can get. I
yep.
mean, Boston's just going to be a good spot for food no matter what.
And just a quick note, real quick on the Cheers Pub. You've got the Cheers Pub over by Quincy Market. That obviously is a regular restaurant. No filming for the TV show took place there. However, if you want to see the set of Cheers, like where they shot the outside of the TV show, it's called the Bull and Finch Pub, and that's up the street.
Oh,
So,
fantastic. So you can go to either. Yeah,
yep,
that's
you
great.
can do either.
And Mark, I want to just kind of close with a few wrap-up questions. If somebody only had one day in Boston, what's the one thing they must do?
Walk the Freedom Trail.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
definitely.
That's, I mean, we've broken it up in a couple of days to where you can like spend more time at each location, but ultimately the Freedom Trail is something that can be accomplished in a day and has been done by many people, including me, who doesn't like to walk, but it's definitely doable.
Yeah,
And
I think for a taste, it would be great to just go check out every site. You don't have to go in it all, but get the
Yep.
taste first, see the sites, and then you can come back and do a deep dive.
Yep.
yeah, I was gonna
Cool.
say including me, Mark, because based on the information you gave in the fall, I only had 1 day. And so we walked the Freedom Trail and we did it. We did it in
Yeah.
1 day and it was awesome.
Yep.
And, we got a lot of steps in. It was a beautiful fall day. It was gorgeous outside and we really loved just walking around. And yeah, we maybe didn't get to spend as much time at each location, but we managed it. We
Yeah.
did the trail in 1 day and it was definitely a treat. So here's another question. What's something that most tourists miss that locals love?
Wow. That's a tough question.
Moment
I
of
don't even
truth.
know if I know the answer to that.
Favorite
Probably
thing.
just maybe just different dining experiences that, or maybe just outside the downtown area that, that if you're searching for a place to go eat, you're just going to go like wherever you are, but there's probably other hidden gems that the locals know about that others may not. But I'd probably say it's probably related to dining.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see that. I think that when you come to a city a lot of times and you just look up on the internet what are good places to eat, you don't, it's so much more fun to get the locals' opinions on that. Yeah.
for
Well,
sure. If you haven't gotten everything you need from this episode, which I'm pretty sure that we've covered the gamut, then you can also go to this website, www.viator.com/Boston, or is it just slash
Yes.
Boston?
This is backslash Boston, Viator.com.
Yeah, viator.com. So that's a good spot to go if you didn't get all your answers here.
and guys, we just thank you so much for listening to this awesome hour of Boston with our special guest, Mark McDevitt. Mark, thank you so much again for jumping on with us. We had an
Thanks for having me.
awesome time. And catch our next Boston related episode where we're going to dive into the places that are just outside of Boston that are just as special. If you are doing that road trip or visiting friends or family or looking to just explore a little bit outside Boston, but stay in Massachusetts. So, anyway, guys, thanks again, and we will catch you on the next Travel Brat Tuesday.